Okay, here we go. We're going to begin. All right, so you're lying down on your back. You've already brought your arms over your head, doing a nice big stretch. Let's bring our arms back down alongside the body, and we're going to bring both of our knees into our chest. Very typical way that we start. I like to get us warmed up slowly and also give you an opportunity to just check out how you're feeling. So maybe you are rocking from side to side. Maybe you're hugging your knees in fully. Maybe you're pulling your knees wider apart. All of these things are good. We're going to stay here for about 30 more seconds. And I want you to be breathing in, breathing out through your nose, if you can. At the very least, I want you just to be breathing. That's a good thing. So let's take a couple more seconds here in this position. And then I'd like you to stretch your left leg up in the air, and you're going to keep just your right leg pulled in. So you're squeezing your right leg in, your left leg is up in the air. You can start to roll your left ankle around. And we're going to do this for several seconds. So you're pulling this right leg in. It feels a little more intense to be doing this. If this hurts your back, of course, just bring that right leg down, modify as needed, as always. But we're going to stay here a little tiny bit longer. That left leg is up in the air. And then keeping the left leg still, flexing the foot. So you're going to push up through the heel. Again, if this hurts your body, you're not going to do it. Keep your abdominal muscles engaged. And we're just going to roll ourselves up here. Squeeze ourselves up, holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Head down, legs down, both legs down. We'll bring our feet to the outside edges of the mat. Knees are bent. And just drop your knees from side to side. You can stretch your arms away from your body if you'd like. Just taking some breaths. Maybe you're going at an even slower pace than what I'm doing. That's okay. We're just putting space in the body. We are just starting. Okay, so we are going to do the other side now. So take your, actually, I guess, pull your left knee in. It's probably easier to do it this way, and then bring your right leg up in the air. So you may have, one hand holding the right leg, one hand holding the left, or maybe you have both on the left. It doesn't matter, whatever works for you. But we're going to start to roll the ankle. Again, if anything causes you to feel discomfort in your back, you feel pinching, you're going to stop. You're going to bring your left leg down. But it's a little tighter position right now to have the one leg up and the one leg hugged in. You're starting to stretch into your glute muscle a little bit more. You can feel the pull in your back. You can feel your belly perhaps engaging. Let's take another breath. And then just like before, keeping your foot flexed, your leg is up in the air in any manner. It can be bent, right, if your hamstrings are tight. But if you want, we're going to lift our head and shoulders up and squeeze in towards the bent knee, keeping the core strong for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then let everything come down. Bring both feet flat to the ground. Before we do windshield wiper knees again, I want you to just gently turn your head from side to side. You're just trying to release any tightness in your neck. Okay. And come back to being still with your head. And now we're going to drop the knees from side to side. Just like we did before. Maybe taking a little deeper breaths this time because maybe it feels like you have a little more space, maybe. Okay. And from here, I'd like you to stretch your left leg out on the mat this time. Bend your right knee in, left hand on your knee, pull your leg across your body. So now we're doing a twist. If you feel like you have the space in your body at this point in your practice to stretch your right arm away from you, go for it. Make that happen. You can turn towards your hand And just take a nice big stretch. So you're trying to relax through the upper chest, obviously the twist in the back. You still feel some pull in your hip. Relax your jaw, take a nice big breath. Breathing in and breathing out. So we are trying to do some yoga today that will help our soul, help us feel good. Really, any type of yoga will help you feel good, in my opinion. But this one especially. Okay, come all the way back. You're going to release your right leg, bring your left leg in, hand on your knee, and leg across the body. So now you're doing the spinal twist on the other side. Again, if it feels comfortable to have your arms stretched out, absolutely do that. So a spinal twist, left arm stretched away, maybe looking towards the left if you want, relaxing your jaw, taking nice big deep breaths. Really take a good full breath into your heart space. Breathe around your heart, stretch, open up. When we breathe deeply, we train ourselves to, well, when we practice breathing deeply in yoga, we help to train ourselves to then breathe deeply in real life, off of the mat. And when you're able to incorporate in that deep breath in your off the mat life, that's going to calm you, it's going to relax you. All right, let's come all the way back and we'll actually stretch the left leg out. And we're going to do another full body stretch. Bring your arms over your head, interlace your fingers if that feels good. I always like to do that because it gives me extra stretches through the wrists and I always need that. Big, big stretch, big, big breath, point your toes. Inhale, exhale. All right, bring your arms back down. We're going to bend the knees in however you would like to bring yourself up to a seated position. If you want to roll up the way I just did or lift yourself up, whatever makes you feel good. We're going to just take a little moment here to continue to work on our abdominals and strengthen our spine. So we're going to hold into a boat pose in a moment. So you're leaning back, feeling the tension in your core, nice strong abdominal muscles. You're not rounding your back. If you start to round, you know you're going too far, just pull yourself up. And then if you want to make it harder for yourself, you can bring one leg up and alternate, or bring both legs up. And if you still want more work, release your arms. And we will hold here. Remember, you have every option for the variations for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release everything down. Let's bring the soles of our feet together and we'll take a nice counter stretch. A counter stretch that you can round your back, tuck your chin, and fold yourself forward in any manner that feels good. Maybe you're taking your elbows and you're pressing your arms inside your legs, just to pin the hips down a little bit more. And let's lift ourselves up. We're going to make our way onto our hands and our knees, and we're going to do some cycles of cat and cow. So rounding your back, hammocking your belly. We're going to do 10 of these, so I guess 5 pairs. Rounding your back, hammocking your belly. I want you to be breathing in and breathing out as you do these movements. Pull the breath in through your nose, expel it out through your nose. Again, if I said 5 pairs, if that's too many, then just stop. Maybe you need to stop and take a sip of water. Maybe you need to put your hair in a ponytail. I don't know. It's all good. All right, so you're probably getting closer to your 5 pairs, if not there already. What I'd like you to take next is a heart opening posture that's very similar to child's pose in the sense of how we position our body. I want you to stretch your arms forward, stick your butt up in the air, that's okay, and start to drop your chest down to the ground. You're not going to have your hips reaching your heels the same way or towards your heels the same way you would with child's pose. So big stretch back here. I want you to lengthen, push your hips back, feel the pull in your shoulders, Feel the pull in the underarms as well. Let's take another big breath. And then inhale, just coming back up. Just relax for a second. Actually, you know what, let's just stretch one leg back at a time, just to reduce the amount of bending of the knees. And then we'll switch, just alternating the legs. Okay, and then we're gonna come back again into that heart opening pose, Anahata, and just push your hips back. Maybe you're able to get your forehead to the ground. It does not matter if you cannot. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And bring yourself back up. Okay, maybe we'll do the same thing. Stretch one leg back and stretch one leg back. Okay, so I'd like you to, I'm gonna just reposition myself to face forward, but you can still stay on your mat in the same way that you just were, facing to the top of the mat. You're gonna be on your left knee, take your right leg and send it away from you. If you need to come onto the mat in the same position that I have, that's okay. Just shifting your body if you don't have space. But the most important thing is you'd have probably still the cushion of the mat underneath your left knee. So your right leg is stretched out, your toes are pointing forward, everything's pointing forward. So some stretching in the inside of the leg, you may be feeling it on the outside of the hip. And then if it's available to you, bringing your hand down to the ground. This is where if you have a book or a block, perfect, underneath the hand, and take your right arm and big giant stretch. So you are connecting from your right fingers, your fingertips on your right hand, all the way to the baby toe on your right foot. Big breath. Push your ribs up to the ceiling. Big, big breath. Relax your neck. Don't feel like you have to look up. I mean, you can do that. That's part of the posture if you want, but looking down is fine. Maybe you just want to even rotate your neck slightly and just get that movement. Okay. Keep your abdominals nice and strong because we're going to pull ourselves back up. Taking a breath. This is called gate pose. It's always a big one. I like this pose a lot. And now we're going to just switch to the other side. So you're going to have your right knee bent, your left foot is planted on the ground, toes pointing forward. Just pause here for a moment. Get that stretch, get that sensation, see how it feels. Hopefully, if you needed extra padding, you could always take a towel underneath your knee. And then we're going to bring our hand to the ground or to your prop. Left arm, stretch. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Make your body get longer here. We are all about trying to put space in our body. That's what's going to be good for our soul. Big breath in, exhale out. I'm pressing into my baby toe of my left foot. One more time, big breath in, exhale out. And then you're going to keep your core strong because you're going to use everything to lift yourself back up and take a breath. Sometimes you can feel a little dizziness, and that's normal. Just always take a break. Bring your knee in and back to facing forward if you weren't there already. And now I'd like you to come into child's pose. Wide knees, child's pose. Big toes touching, knees apart. Lower your forehead down to the ground. You can start off by having your arms stretching forward. But see how it feels today to bring your arms back alongside your body. I'm going to be honest and tell you, I really never ever like this pose. I do not like having my arms back, but part of the reason why I don't like it is because it feels really unfamiliar to me. I avoid it. I don't like how it feels. I avoid it. Sometimes the things that I avoid, I should be doing more of. So I encourage you to do that exploration yourself. It just pushes back on my hips a little bit more and I'm just, I don't know. Anyways, I know some people love this. So you are doing what you want here in your child's pose. Arms forward, arms back. Maybe you're shifting your weight gently from side to side. We're going to stay here for about 20 more seconds, approximately. Nice big breaths. So you've gone from doing the cat-cow to doing the side bending, the cat-cow, the heart opening, the side bending, and now we're just taking a couple more seconds here to ground ourselves in child's pose. All right, you can bring your arms forward if they're back, lift yourself up. We're gonna come up into a tabletop position and we're gonna move through a little flowy movement here. We're gonna do this 5 times. So from tabletop, I want you to push yourself forward. So I'm in kind of, my hands are under my shoulders. I'm in sort of a push-up position with my knees down. And we're gonna lower ourselves down with our chin and our chest, and then slither forward, coming into a cobra. So it's a little different movement. Bring yourself back down, curl your toes under, and come back into child's pose. Okay, so we're gonna do that 4 more times. It feels awkward, but we'll give it a try. It's opening up the spine. It's something different. It's good for our soul. Let's come up into our tabletop position, and then I'm gonna hinge forward so that my hands are still under my shoulders. My knees are down. I'm gonna have that chin and chest coming down first, slithering forward, coming up into cobra. And from here, curl the toes under, back into child's pose. You can always modify if this doesn't feel good. We're gonna do this 3 more times. So tabletop, hinge forward, chin and chest, hips come down, rolling up into cobra, curl the toes under, back into child's pose. Come forward to table, chin and chest, come down, cobra, back into child's pose. 1 more time. Inhaling forward into table and then into my plank variation, chin, chest, come to the ground, coming up into cobra, and come back into child's pose. We did that 5 times. You can stay here in child's pose or make your way up into downward facing dog, our first one. So let's start to just pedal out the legs. Hands are spread, fingers are spread nice and wide, hands are shoulder distance apart. We're gonna spend about 60 more seconds here. So you know if this is not good for you, if you wanna come down, but for those that enjoy downward facing dog, I encourage you to move your hips, pedal your legs, release your neck. Think about drawing your biceps forward, your triceps back, so engage in your arms. There's so many things to think about in every pose. Oh yeah, remember to breathe. Keep your abdominal muscles engaged. So we're still hanging out here. Maybe you're bringing a leg up in the air and seeing how that feels, alternating. Remember, you can always come back down into child's pose or tabletop if you need to. Consider coming up on your tiptoes, pushing your tailbone up towards the ceiling, and then sinking down through your heels any amount. And we'll do that a couple more times. Sinking down through your heels any amount. And maybe last one. Inhale, lifting up, keeping the belly strong, sinking down through the heels any amount. So we'll have a couple more breaths here. And then either you can come down to your knees to get ready to step a foot forward, or from downward facing dog, we're gonna step our right foot forward. So everybody stepping your right foot forward, coming down on your left knee. Bring your hand inside, your left hand inside the foot, and we're gonna twist to the right. Open yourself up here. I want you to really push into this stretch. Nice, strong abdominal muscles. You're reaching up. If you feel like you want a little bit more, take your arm behind your back, pull yourself open even more. Stretch, put space in your body. And we'll come back down with the hands. Curl your toes under, step back into downward facing dog. And then from here, stepping your left foot forward. Coming down on your right knee. And bringing your right hand in closer, and we're gonna twist to the left. Beautiful stretch. So reaching up through your left hand, reaching your fingertips up a little bit higher. And then for the last few seconds, if you want, drape the arm behind the back, twist yourself open even more. Lots and lots of space in your body. Okay, we'll come back to center, come back down, pick up your back leg and step back into downward facing dog. Okay, I'm gonna throw in the option for a vinyasa here. So coming forward to a high plank, lowering down in your tricep push-up, inhale into cobra or upward dog, and downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, or of course you can modify and go to your knees. We're gonna step our right foot forward, come down on your left knee, twist to the right, exactly what we just did. Right arm behind your back, belly strong, twist. Come back down with your hand, step back into downward facing dog. Optional vinyasa, come forward to a high plank, lower yourself down. Inhale into cobra, exhale back into downward facing dog. We're gonna step our left foot forward, coming down on the knee, twisting to the left. Maybe the arm behind the back, nice big breath. So our second time of doing this, come back down with your hand, step back, downward facing dog. Let's come down to our knees, and I want you to do 3 pairs of cat and cow. 3 pairs of cat and cow. Use your breath. You might feel like your cat and cows are faster than they were before because you're maybe feeling a little more, the heart rate's up, the warmth is in the body, but we are cooling it down for this moment. Okay, and again, like before, I want you to take your heart opening pose, stretch your hands forward, push your hips back, drop your chest towards the ground, stretch and stretch and stretch a little bit more. Maybe you're able to push your hips back a little bit more, reach your fingers forward a little bit. One more breath, and then let's transition into, just for a moment, into child's pose. And maybe you're taking the variation of the arms back. Let's take 4 breaths here. Gives us a chance to rest from our wrists. Okay, so you can stay here in child's pose as long as you want. Join us when you're ready. If you'd like to come up into downward facing dog, let's do that. Downward facing dog, people that want a little bit more, come forward to a high plank, lower yourself down, inhale into cobra or upward dog, downward facing dog. Okay, we are going to take our right leg, reach it up in the air, step your foot up between your hands, planting down through your left heel. We're going to come into warrior 2. So your right arm is forward, your left arm is back, your front knee is bent and open. You should be able to see your right big toe. We're going to hold here in our warrior position. We're going to take advantage of the fact that we're now standing. Relax your shoulders. Your shoulders are over your hips. You're pressing into the outside edge of your back foot, similar to gate pose, what we did a little bit earlier. So you feel nice and strong. Super, super powerful and strong. Definitely warming up the body, but a great stretch for the hips. You've got lots of strengthening happening with the arms right now, holding them in this position. Let's stay here for one more breath. Now we're going to straighten out the front leg without locking the knee, reach forward and come into triangle. Now, you can always have your book or your block. It's really nice to actually use props. If you don't normally use props, it's nice to try a few poses once in a while using them and just see how they help you. Maybe shift into a position a little more deeply, or you're able to maybe focus on something that you weren't normally able to because you were concentrating on keeping your hand on the ground or on your leg. So we always remember that we work where we are able to. So maybe your hand is on your shin, maybe you're grabbing a toe, who knows? Let's take a few more breaths like this. I want you to always think about tucking your right hip under the body, or you're like a piece of bread in between the toaster coils. That's my analogy I always use. You're trying to just absolutely line yourself up. Let's take one more breath, looking down at your right foot for balance. We're going to inhale, back up, warrior 2. And then we're going to straighten out for a moment. I want you to have all of your toes, actually, walk your feet in a little closer first, I should say. So you're in a wide stance, but not a super wide stance. Now I'd like you to open out your toes, coming into second position. You're a dancer. And you're going to start to sink yourself down into this pose, which is called goddess pose, or it's called horse pose. But what you're trying to do is line your knees up with your toes. So you're trying to open up the legs. The other thing here that we try to work against is we don't want to be like this. We want to be lined up more. Core pulled in, tucking in the tail. It takes time, right? It takes time to come to this. That's why we practice. You're going to bring your hands to your heart. You probably did that already. And we're going to hang out here. We're warming up our legs. This is such a good, strong pose. But these poses, they're good for our soul. You might feel lots of emotions coming up right now, like, why am I doing this? I don't want to be here. I hate this pose. That's okay. Stick with it. Stay here a little tiny bit longer for those that want a little bit more. Lift up on your right tiptoes. Lower down, lift up on your left tiptoes. And then if you still want a little bit more, we're going to alternate for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just lift yourself back up. Take some breaths. You very likely feel like lots of heart pumping. That's good. You might have some sweat. That's all right. And we'll just kind of shake the legs out. We're going to pivot onto the right foot so you're facing the top of the mat. Bring your hands down to the ground. If you'd like to bring yourself into child's pose, make that happen. Or come into downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths. For those that want a little more intensity, come forward to a high plank. Lower yourself down. Inhale into cobra. Curl your toes under. Downward facing dog. Okay, so we're going to do the other side. You're going to take your left leg, reach it straight up in the air. Big, big stretch. And then step your foot up between your hands, planting down on your right heel. I'm going to just switch positions here, so I'm still facing you. Coming into warrior two on the left side. So pressing into the back edge of your right foot. Remember, your toes, your foot is coming in at a 45-degree angle. You're nice and strong. You can see your left big toe. Powerful legs. This might feel a little different now this second time. Maybe you feel like you're a little bit warmer in the body. Interesting to try these poses and to hold them, because lots of times in, I would say that oftentimes in maybe power vinyasa classes, like the class that I teach on Thursdays, maybe we move through these poses, but we're doing a whole bunch of things. We do them quickly. We don't always stop and hold them. Not always. All right, let's take another big breath. Nice strong arms, relaxing your shoulders. And then we're going to straighten out the front leg without locking the knee. Reach nice and long from your waist. And we're going to do Trikonasana, triangle pose on the other side. And I always see this with people that often they lock the front knee. I always keep a micro bend in the knee because I want, and I'm encouraging you to do that as well, because I want you to be using your muscles, not balancing on your joints. So micro bend in that knee because you're using your muscles. You don't want to cause stress on your joints. That could cause problems down the road. All right, nice big breath. Maybe looking up at your right hand. Maybe that doesn't feel good with your neck, so you want to look down or even forward. Maybe you're reaching for the big toe. I know some of you that practice Ashtanga yoga, you probably are doing that. Let's take another big breath. And we're going to look down at the left foot for balance. Inhale, coming back up just for 1 second in warrior. And then we'll straighten out the legs. We're going to, again, come into a wide stance. Toes coming out into second position. Last time doing this, you can do this. Bring yourself down. Think about trying to keep your back even straighter this time. Your shoulders are over the hips. Try to tuck in the tail. Hands come to the heart. You could also think about trying to, well, you could even take your hands and maybe for a moment try to actually push the legs back and then work on that using your outside muscles of your hips and outside of your legs to try to pull the legs open a little bit more. I'm just giving you some options here to explore the posture. Plus we're hanging out in this for a little bit of time, so I'm trying to talk to take your mind off what you're doing. Let's sink down 1 more inch. Nice strong feet, pressing into the ground. You want a little bit more work, lift up a heel, other heel, and then we'll do our countdown. 10, 9, keep your core strong, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You did it. Lift yourself up. Take a breath. Maybe shake out the hips. Actually, you know what we should do? Let's turn our toes forward. So you're facing forward. Your toes are facing forward, same direction as you. We're going to fold ourselves forward. You can have your hands on the ground, like under your face. Maybe you want to walk them back more in line with your feet. I don't care, but I want you just to push your hips from side to side. Just sort of floss out your hips. You just did some really good standing poses that are great for strengthening. You could feel it in your glutes, in your thighs. If you even feel like you want to walk your hands over to one foot, bending into that knee, opposite leg is straight, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. Just flossing out the hips, just as I said. Okay, we're going to take another breath. You're just doing this at your own pace. And from here, bring your hands to your hips, coming into a flat back, and then lift yourself back up. So we're just coming up slowly so you don't feel that crazy dizziness. And as you feel ready, bring yourself down to the ground. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together. We did this a little bit earlier, but we're going to hold a little bit longer this time. So folding yourself forward. We're going to try this 2 different ways. The first way is keeping your back straighter. So folding forward, keeping your back straighter, keeping your abdominals pulled in, just allowing yourself to lean in. Maybe you're not leaning in as much as I am. You lean into wherever you feel the pull. Nice big breath. Elbows can be pressing inside the thighs to help pin the hips down a little bit more. So that's the first variation. The second variation is engage your abdominal muscles, round your back, tuck your chin into your chest, and you're going to roll your head towards your feet. Much different feeling now on your spine. You're stretching into the whole length of your spine. Stretching out the back of your neck. Let's take a couple more breaths. And then lift yourself back up. Okay. We've had our knees bent. Let's straighten them out. We're going to stretch them out. If you would like, you can take your book or your block, bring it to the bottoms of the feet. It's okay if you need to bend your knees, and you can fold forward. So your knees might be bent and you're doing this, or they're straight. You might hate how this feels and you want to do it without it. That's okay. Do that too. Listen to your body. You decide what is good for you. Now, I'm not being picky right now if you have a straight back or a rounded back. Just make note of what you did. What was the first instinct for your body to go into right now? Are you in a rounded back or a straight back? Okay, so now whatever you did, try and shift to the opposite. So I went into the rounded back. I'm going to work on the straighter back. Take another breath. And then for the last few seconds of being here, take the variation that feels best to you. It's probably your first instinct movement, but take that variation, big, big breath, big stretch. You can always draw your abdominal muscles in to help support the back when you're in these folded forward poses. If there's a little bit of twinginess in the back, use the abdominal muscles as well to help add in that additional support. Couple more big breaths. So when we fold forward like this, this is an anxiety reducing pose. This is a calming pose. It's calming to fold forward. Your nervous system likes this. Remembering these are nice movements to take on your own time whenever you need to. All right, let's lift ourselves up. Just kind of bring yourself back up. We were holding that for a little bit of time, so nice to come out of things slowly. We're going to take one of my most favorite poses because I swear I teach this almost every single time because I love it so much. Step your right leg over, twist towards your bent knee. I just love this pose. I don't know. It just feels really, really nice. on my back. So I have to teach that all the time, on my back and on my hip. An option to this pose, if you'd like, do not do this if it wrecks it for you, but just to know, you can always take your bottom leg and bend it, tucking it in, and just add a little pretzel to the pose. It's not necessary. All right. Let's stay here a little bit longer. Maybe you want to take your left elbow, tuck it on the outside of the leg, coming into the stop sign hand. So you're keeping your back nice and straight. If you ever start to round, you're going, you're compromising the beautiful options with this pose. So let's take another breath. Last but not least, let's just comfortably turn our chin a little bit more to the right, not overdoing it, just a little bit more, and come back. And then if you have your bottom leg tucked under, you're going to straighten it out, come all the way back, and release your leg. Give it a couple little shakes, and we're going to do the other side. So left leg steps over, twisting, nice tall straight spine, nice big breaths. Remember, if you want to bring the bottom leg in, go for it. Take full big breaths here. Breathe right into the belly. Maybe you're doing your stop sign hand. You can almost imagine that you're being pulled up to the crown of the head with an invisible string, just lifting you up a little bit taller. And then last but not least, we're going to comfortably bring our chin a little bit more to the left, slightly deeper twist. And then just soften, come all the way back. We're going to release. If your bottom leg was out or tucked in, sorry, stretch it out and just release and shake out your legs. Let's bring ourselves onto our backs. If you have a block or a book, you can have that with you right now. We're going to take a variation of, we're going to do a back bend here, but we're going to, in bridge pose, you can have the option to use your prop if you have one. So first, without the prop, feet are hip distance apart. Heels are close enough that if you just reach your arms, you can touch them with the tips of your fingers. And we're going to lift up our hips and bridge, push down with your feet pressing into the ground, engage your glute muscles, lift up higher, big belly breath, let your belly puff out. And then we're going to come all the way back down. So we're going to do that one more time without the block. Again, if you don't have a block, don't worry. So inhale, lifting up. This time, I don't want you to engage your glute muscles. Keep your buttock muscles, your glute muscles soft. Lift up a little bit higher. Really engage your thighs. It feels weird when you try not to engage the glute muscles, or at least I can speak for myself. I feel like I'm always trying to remind myself to use the thighs and the calves and the ankles and not use the glutes. So maybe you're having that same challenge. Take one more breath and come all the way back down. Okay. So now, if you have the block or the book, and the book is sturdy, you can take it and place it underneath your tailbone. If you don't have a block or a book, you can just lie here. No, you can just hold here. It's up to you. So people with the prop people only, not the people not, you can bring your arms away from the body because you have some weight here on using the prop to do this. If you do not have a prop, I want you to be really careful if you do this. I encourage you not to do that. I encourage you to keep your arms alongside your body. But if you really have to, as long as you're doing this and you feel safe, I don't encourage it though. Okay, so you're either holding here with your book or your block with your arms out, or you're still holding up. Let's take 3 more breaths. Everybody is breathing into the belly. You're letting all of your organs fall out of their natural resting cavities as you hold this pose a little bit longer, and everybody starting to come back. So arms back down, remove your prop, bring your spine down to the ground. We're going to pause here for a moment. Let your back settle. Take a breath. And then we're going to bring our knees into our chest. So opposite movement, we went from extension, spinal extension to spinal flexion. I like to just pause before we jump from one to the other, just to give you a few seconds to be in neutral. So if you would like to come into a modified happy baby, so pulling your knees nice and wide apart, hands are on your knees, or you can take the full pose. You can also have your hands behind your knees, but you decide what makes good sense for you. You want to have your tailbone on the ground. Let's hold this here. Nice, big, deep breath. I just want to add something quickly as we're holding this pose. I am starting a new evening virtual class this coming Monday. It's going to be from 7 to 8 p.m. It will have active levels, but definitely at the end, because it's close to 8 o'clock and you are in your own home, we're going to make sure we have a nice cool down, a nice relaxation to get you prepared for sleep. Just wanted to mention that. If you're interested, please drop me an email. I'm also going to send out another note over the weekend, so just FYI. Anyway, okay. Enough time in this pose. Let's bring our legs back down to the ground. We're going to bring our feet to the outside edges of the mat. Drop your knees from side to side, back into our windshield wiper knees. We're going to do this a few times, maybe stretching your arms away from the body. Relaxing your jaw, taking just a couple more breaths. And then just in the last few seconds or last couple moments of our class, we're going to have the option to elevate the legs. You can come up into a shoulder stand. If you practice that, you can take your block and place it underneath your tailbone and have your hips and legs elevated, or you can do what I'm doing and just stretch the legs up in the air. You can hold the backs of the legs and we'll just pedal out the feet. This is just one of the many poses that you can do as closing at the end of a practice. And you know, even in a shorter practice, a 45-minute practice, you can pack a lot of stuff in and you can have a lot of intensity points and then cooling down points, which is for sure what we did today. So let's take about 3 more breaths. And when you are ready, starting to bring your beautiful legs back down to the ground, stretch your legs out. Notice how they feel once they come down to the ground. Do you feel any tingly sensation from having the blood flow back in? Maybe you feel brightened in your mind. Maybe your nervous system feels calmer. Probably all these things are happening. Maybe not all at the same time, but they do happen. All right, we're going to close off with one more twist, similar to what we did at the beginning. Take your right knee, bend it in, bring your leg across the body. Take a nice big spinal twist. Hopefully this time, if you compare it to how it felt at the beginning, hopefully this time it feels a little more smooth. Nice big deep breath. Hopefully you feel the breath moving through the body. A little less encumbered than maybe when you first started practicing. We'll switch to the other side. Take one more breath and we're going to come all the way back. Now, I encourage you, if you want to, you can just stay here and stay in a Shavasana, stay in a rest for a longer period of time. It's always nice to take like 5, 6, 7 minutes, if not longer, in Shavasana. I know we can't do that right now. I also know it's hard to do it virtually, but please feel free to stay here. But if that's not possible and you need to get on with your day, I want you at the very least to close your eyes. For just a couple breaths, I want you to imagine how you are letting your practice just sink into the body. It is permeating in your body. You're downloading all of your work. Take a big breath, breathing in, breathing out. You can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Turn your beautiful head from side to side. Take your arms over your head. Big giant stretch. Breathing in and exhaling out through your mouth. Let's do that one more time. Breathing in, exhaling out through your mouth, letting your stress go. Good for your soul yoga. Bring yourself up to a seated position carefully, slowly, however you would like. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys have a fantastic Saturday and weekend. Our fall weather is here. And thank you for joining me. Please stay safe. Namaste.